Whew. So kicking off this week in mixed martial arts, we have Uriah Faber back on the scene, and he explodes back on the scene because he's just this kind of guy. At one point in time, Uriah Faber was the best, in the lightweight divisions, 155, 145, 135. There wasn't a 125 yet, and I don't believe there should be quite yet because I think there's like 15 fighters in the entire division, which makes up the entire top 15. So essentially, if you are assigned to the UFC, you are a top 15 125-pound fighter. I often forget what that weight class is called. It just happens. I know there's bantamweight, but flyweight just doesn't roll off the tongue correctly. But anyway, Uriah Faber giving former Ultimate Fighter contestant Bruce Leroy, aka Alex Caceres, a shot at being a bona fide superstar and taking a fight to the already star-powered card at UFC 175, which features Chris Weidman coming back, to defend his title for the first time. That's not against the, pound-for-pound greatest of all time in the UFC, Anderson Silva. It's going to be against the Lyoto Machida, Silva's Black House training partner, aka brother from Brazil. Now, I'm so big on Machida. I've been such a Machida supporter for all these years. I even bought, in high definition. And at the time, I don't know if I had a choice, but if I did, it would have been Super HD to see him fight Shogun for the second time, because I do believe the first fight was so, that they didn't get a definitive champion out of that fight. But they did in the second. I was fucking devastated, shock, and awe all around. For me, this fight, it doesn't really matter to me, but I say this, when all fights are coming up. I don't have a favorite. I don't have a pick. And I'm like, it really doesn't matter because I like both guys. Once they start to tangle, right, then I pick a favorite. Then all of a sudden I'm like, I really hope that this guy wins it. And typically it's the guy that seems to be fading or seems to be the underdog. So, I like it. I like Faber ranked number 1, giving Alex Caceres ranked number 14, coming off of an awesome, unprecedented win against Sergio Pettis, a highly touted newcomer to the UFC and younger brother of UFC lightweight champion Anthony Pettis. Came into the fight, looked awesome, looked incredible, but you can see Bruce Leroy's experience, that gritty experience from Miami, from the Ultimate Fighter, from having tough fights and losses and coming back and not really setting a tempo for a title fighter or to be that type of contender that you'd really like to see in there. It showed in that fight. I think the UFC put him in there as a patsy, as a guy for Sergio to just blow through, being the younger brother of the champion. It would be great, such as a Diaz brothers type of thing. The Pettis brothers, one guy, dominating one division, another guy dominating the next. It'd be great because Dana does believe that Anthony Pettis will be the next UFC superstar, having GSP lost on pay-per-view and Anderson Silva lost as far as pay-per-view buys. It's going to be devastating to their net worth. It's going to, as far as pay-per-view goes, it's going to be really hard to build new stars when George St. Pierre, the highest paid pay-per-view, the number 1 pay-per-view draw, is gone. Anderson Silva, the number 2 pay-per-view draw, dude's gone, dude's gone. You got the Diaz brothers sitting in limbo, and the most questions I get are about the Diaz brothers. Listen, I believe the UFC should pay Nathan Diaz more money. On the business side, if I was working for the UFC, would I pay Nate Diaz what he's asking? No. And here's why I say no. I would negotiate a deal for more money, try to catch up in the middle, and try to get him into a fight that he would like to take. Also, it's got to be a top 10 guy, whether it's a rematch with Cerrone because he's again on fire. Nate, put an end to his streak before. Let's see if he can do it again. Rafael Dos Anjos looks familiar. He fought, Nurmagomedov. And Nurmagomedov, I believe, is going to be a future title holder at 155. I think that'd be it'd be a great matchup because it's a striker. Nate Diaz is known as a great grappler, a fantastic off of his back, on top, great judo throws. But Nurmagomedov, on another level, son, on another level. He looks like a little Fedor in there, and I believe he's going to be a title holder someday. If Nate Diaz can halt Nurmagomedov, That's a statement. Which puts him 2-2 in his last 4, which is totally unfair. If you're looking only at last 4 fights, a lot of people have done poorly. No one has, that much activity. Many people hold inactivity very sacred to their hearts. They only fight 3-4 times a year. He just fought in November, just knocked out Gray Maynard in November, who has no fight set, who just got knocked out and is still in the top 10 rankings, actually boosted up 2 slots because Nate Diaz is gone, also TJ Grant, but he's out because of injury. Totally different situations. I think they're just playing, we're the boss, you're the worker, this is what we can do. So, it's a very situation. It sucks. It's not fair. That's the way it goes. Cormier and Jones, Daniel Cormier said Jones should be like Floyd Mayweather and just take shit with a grain of salt. And you know what? If he wants to be an asshole to the people that, kind of call him an asshole, go right ahead. Be an asshole. He's cheering him on to be an asshole, but also believes that he is that guy to take John Jones down. I can't say I disagree. John Jones right now, I think, is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I don't see him as a dirty fighter. I see him as a very, I see him as paving the way for new and upcoming fighters, to watch and to see, and utilize his types of skills and talents if they can. If they can. John Jones is a very unique individual. But like I said before, I think there's 1,000 John Jones in the world. They just haven't been found yet. Bellator 120 on pay-per-view features, quote-unquote, the most, what was it? Greatest rivalry in MMA. I don't believe that it is the greatest rivalry or the greatest rubber match in MMA whatsoever, and that is Alvarez and Chandler. Now it's going to be some guy that won their fucking tournament, fighting Michael Chandler, which is completely unfair and ridiculous. There's no way I'm buying that pay-per-view. I'd rather just read about it, on Team Stream. Shout out to Nick Diaz, Bleacher Report, and Chael Sonnen as well. Nick Diaz coming back and fighting Matt Brown. It's so important to me. It's so important to me. I've been rallying. Please follow me on Twitter, MisledYouth27, at MisledYouth27. Please follow me. You'll see that I'm rallying to death to bring back Nick Diaz, to pay him $500,000 when George St. Pierre was making $8 million per pay-per-view bout. Nick Diaz is worth the money. Nate Diaz, sort of questionable. I'm not quite sure what he's worth as far as pay-per-view buys, because I don't really know jack shit. I do know that Nick Diaz is worth the money. In that fight, my friends, this fight is worth the money. They have the money. They can put up $500K. No problem. Nick Diaz is not going to let you down. This guy's he's coming in there to win. I do believe he is the guy to put Matt Brown's 7-fight win streak on an immediate halt, and which, catapults Nick Diaz right back up there in the title contention. I think that's what he wants. That's what we want. The only problem is the UFC doesn't want to pay him $500,000. I can't say that, if I had these billions or multi-millions of dollars the UFC has, that I would pay one particular fighter $500K. I don't see that happening unless they would sign a multi-fight deal with me, saying that I have exclusive rights to them. I understand the whole business side, but I still side with Nick Diaz. I still think $500,000 is not that much to ask. Nate Diaz is bitching and complaining that there's not enough money in the game. Yeah, he's right. But no fighter gets paid. I believe no fighter is getting paid what they deserve. None of the fighters, all of the fighters deserve to get paid more money. They all do. But the sport's very young. It's very young. Uniforms are a terrible idea. The fighters, they need these sponsors to make money. The pay-per-view, us as fans need to pay the pay-per-view price to get them paid. And when we pay that price to get them paid, we expect to see the most elite fighters in the cage. Nate Diaz as well as Nick Diaz are 2 of the most elite fighters at the most current time. And I think they fit like a glove with George St. Pierre missing and the 155 division, as well as Nate looked in his last fight. I believe he has a lot to offer and definitely worth negotiating with. Hope you enjoyed this installment. There will be more, certainly, much more. Uriah Faber taking on Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres. UFC 175, Weidman, Machida. Can't pick a favorite. Doesn't matter who wins. I love them both. Power Silver 101, give me a like, and please share the video all you can.